Have you ever wondered how a nation as vast as China came to control lands that stretch from the soaring Tibetan plateaus to the endless deserts of Xinjiang and the rolling grasslands of Mongolia? What if I told you that the story of China's expansion isn't just about borders, but about an empire navigating centuries of war, diplomacy, and cultural collision, where entire peoples were absorbed, resisted, and sometimes even vanished from history? Today, we're diving into the epic tale of China's expansion into Tibet, Xinjiang, and Mongolia, and the secrets behind the Qing Dynasty's rise to power. For centuries, China's heartland was a land of rivers, fertile valleys, and dense cities. But beyond these core regions lay vast frontiers, sparsely populated, rugged, and home to nomadic tribes whose very way of life was at odds with Chinese civilization. These were lands where mounted warriors roamed freely, and where attempts to conquer the tribes often ended in failure. Think about it. How do you impose control over people who can outrun your armies on horseback, who live in mobile tents, and whose loyalty to one ruler or another can shift overnight? Historically, China struggled with this challenge, and countless dynasties tried, and failed, to extend their control over these regions. But then came the Qing Dynasty, the last imperial dynasty of China, and everything changed. Originating from the northeast, the Manchu people were not traditional Chinese. They had their own language, customs, and military culture. Unlike the Han Chinese dynasties before them, they understood the dynamics of the steppe and the ways of the nomadic horseman. When the Ming Dynasty collapsed under internal chaos, famine, and rebellion, the Manchus seized their chance, sweeping into Beijing in 1644 and establishing a rule that would reshape the map of China forever. What made the Qing so successful wasn't just brute force. It was strategy, diplomacy, and cultural understanding. To secure the Mongolian tribes, they didn't merely fight them, they incorporated them. They married into Mongol aristocracy, adopted their military tactics, and even allowed Mongol regiments to fight alongside Qing forces. By making the Mongols part of their empire, the Manchus turned potential threats into allies. Take the story of the southern Mongols in the early 1600s. A powerful chieftain, Ligdan Khan, sought to unify the Mongol tribes and challenge the Manchus. For more than a decade, fierce battles raged across the steppes, but the Manchu leadership, through clever alliances and relentless campaigns, secured the loyalty of the Mongols. This was the first step in the creation of an empire that would stretch across a continent. Meanwhile, to the west, a new challenge emerged. The Dzungar Khanate, a confederation of Western Mongols, had risen to power and allied itself with Tibet, threatening Qing influence in both regions. The Kangxi Emperor personally led campaigns against Galdan, the Dzungar leader, eventually crushing the threat and consolidating Qing authority over northern Mongolia. By combining military strength with diplomacy, the Qing managed something previous dynasties could only dream of. They created stability in regions that had long been defined by chaos. Tibet, with its high-altitude monasteries and spiritual authority, presented a different kind of challenge. The Dalai Lamas were not just religious leaders, they were kingmakers whose influence extended deep into the Mongol world. To control Tibet, the Qing had to understand its unique spiritual and political structure. They skillfully intervened in local conflicts, replacing rulers when necessary and ensuring that Tibet remained under imperial influence without directly imposing Chinese governance. It was a delicate balance of power, showing that sometimes soft power can achieve what armies cannot. Xinjiang, meanwhile, was the jewel of the empire's westward expansion. Long controlled by the Dzungar Mongols and home to Uyghur Muslims, it became a battleground for control in the mid-18th century. After defeating the Dzungars, the Qing incorporated Xinjiang as a new frontier, but their consolidation came at a horrifying cost. The Dzungar population suffered a brutal massacre, wiping out much of the community in a calculated effort to eliminate future threats. By the end of these campaigns, the Qing had united Inner Asia under their rule in a way that no dynasty had before. But the Qing didn't just rely on force. They understood that ruling such a vast, multicultural empire required nuance. The administration was dual-layered. China proper was governed directly, while frontier regions were overseen by local rulers under Qing supervision. Mongol princes, Uyghur leaders, and Tibetan authorities were incorporated into the imperial system, with each group allowed a measure of autonomy. The emperor presented himself differently to each people, a Confucian sage to the Han, a great Khan to the Mongols, a spiritual patron to the Tibetans. By embracing cultural pluralism while maintaining ultimate authority, the Qing managed to create an empire that was both expansive and stable. This approach also shaped demographics. Initially, Han Chinese migration into frontier territories was restricted, but population pressures and natural disasters gradually pushed millions westward. Over time, formerly autonomous regions became increasingly integrated into the cultural and political center of China, setting the stage for the modern demographic landscape we see today. The Manchu themselves, originally outsiders, eventually assimilated, adopting Han language and culture while still overseeing a diverse empire. As the Qing Dynasty entered decline in the 19th century, the empire faced internal rebellion, European intervention, and eventually revolution. Yet the outer territories it had absorbed, Tibet, Xinjiang, and Inner Mongolia, remained part of China, laying the foundation for the modern nation-state. The struggle between central authority and regional identity that began centuries ago continues to echo today, shaping politics, culture, and ethnic relations in ways that are still deeply felt. So, what can we learn from this epic story? First, history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about understanding people, cultures, and the strategies that connect them. Second, power often lies as much in diplomacy and cultural intelligence as it does in armies. Third, the legacy of expansion is complicated. It can bring stability, but also leave scars that echo through generations. And finally, understanding history gives us insight into contemporary tensions, showing that today's challenges are rooted in centuries of human interaction. If this story fascinates you, imagine what other untold histories are hiding just beneath the surface, waiting to explain the world as we know it. Hit that subscribe button to explore more deep dives into the rise and fall of empires, and don't forget to check out our video on the secret history of the Mongol Empire. It's one you want to miss. But here is a question for you. If you could witness one historical moment in China's vast imperial past, which would it be, and why? Drop your answer in the comments below, because some of these moments are stranger than fiction, and the real story might just blow your mind.